Our guest today is Timothy Stobbe. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dominic. I appreciate it.
And I would like you to say a little prayer for us before we get into the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this good day that you've given us. God, thank you for a chance for us to have a really wonderful and rich conversation. Jesus, would you be the center? Amen.
Today's guest is a pastor, a poet, teacher, and storyteller who brings together faith, creativity, and the hard realities of life with honesty, wisdom, and a little bit of quirkiness. After more than 2 decades in pastoral ministry, including 24 years serving in one place, Timothy has experienced the joys, disappointments, challenges, and unexpected moments that come with working alongside people through life. Now retired from pastoral ministry, he has entered a new and deeply personal chapter, one that he describes as both peace filled and uncertain. Through poetry, music, writing, and reflection, he continues to explore creativity as a way of processing pain and as a conduit for prayer. His poetry collection, Changing Lenses, reflects that journey and his belief that sometimes transformation begins simply by learning to see life differently. Today we'll talk about faith in difficult seasons, church related pain, creativity, life transitions, and what it means to discover what comes next when one chapter of life finally ends. Once again, Timothy Stobbe, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here with you and with your listeners as well.
All right, thank you so much, and I'm glad to have you, honestly. So, I have some questions here for you, and I would like us to get into them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Timothy, you served as a pastor for more than 2 decades. That was a wonderful time of service. So, share with us what originally called you into ministry when you were just 16.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for asking that. You know, it's interesting how the Lord will speak into our lives. I grew up in a really good family. Both my parents were well, they're still alive. They're wonderful people, and they certainly made church a part of my life from when I was a kid, and exposed me to just to the Lord and to what it means to be faithful to Him. So I was with several other students, was like a youth group, and I grew up in Canada, in the southwestern part of Canada, and we had taken a trip down to the northern part of Mexico to go and just help however we could help. And while we were there was a particular evening when we were all gathered around a campfire, and I don't really remember too much about what was said or kind of really much else of what happened, other than as we were just having a kind of a quiet time. I remember all of the other thoughts in my mind. The best way to describe it is that like they fell off, uh, and then just kind of in a single line. It felt like a line of text, like as if you were looking at a computer screen, but it was just, I want you to serve me for the rest of my life. And I knew that that was from the Lord, and I knew that's what He wanted for me. And so that was my call into ministry. And I didn't really totally understand it at 16, but I was able to talk through it with some mentors and with other people I trusted, and that was kind of my entrance into understanding that I was called to serve the Lord in that way.
All right. So after 4 years in one place, what was the feeling like when you realized that God was calling you into something different
You mean when I was 16 or more recently?
more recently?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, that was a longer process. I've been there for a long time, and I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a strong sense from the Lord that there was something different that He was inviting me into. But at the time, it felt like a glowing ember, right? Rather than a full raging flame or a fire. So it was just a really soft nudge at the time. And I really didn't even know if that meant like moving away from pastoral ministry or just adding something into what I was already doing. So that's kind of how that began. And then around Christmas time of 2024, I it really became pronounced, and through conversations with a mentor friend of mine and with my wife, and just through times of prayer, we're like, it's just time. It's time to pass off leadership of the church and to make plans. So it was a few months later when I brought it up to the elders of our church, the other leadership of the church, and we began to put the plan into motion. So that was, what prompted it. It was really just the Lord leading me through that season.
Right. But, after 24 years in a place, it's very difficult to realize that you have to change probably purpose or into a different calling. Many people at that moment they might not want to hit the call.
Hmm.
So how did you find it? How were you able to move after? Because after 24 years in one place, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is.
So is it that you had a confirmation from God that you need to step into something completely new?
Hmm.
How were you sure it was a confirmation from God?
I I guess in some ways I didn't know for sure, right? That's part of faith, is that we continue in conversation, and we trust. That's the nature of it. But there were some things that really felt like strong indicators that this really was from the Lord. And one of those things was just an incredible sense of peace about letting it go. And you kind of mentioned it, I think, in your introduction, but just that, even though the future is actually still a little bit uncertain, like I'm actually in a stage right now where I think I have a couple of opportunities in front of me that I'm not totally sure, but I think I'm right on the brink of whatever this next thing is. But, in the process of everything, I didn't know. And that was okay. And it was okay because there's a track record in my own life of Jesus leading me well, and so that's what gave me a lot of peace about it. So it seemed like it was time. There were some indicators in the church itself that I was like, yeah, I think they're ready um, for the next thing. And yeah, just as we walked through it together, it was just good. So there wasn't necessarily like a big sign, but it was just a lot of time in prayer and time just seeking God's face about it, and trusting that, and that was okay, and it's still okay. Yeah.
All right, Timothy. So you mentioned something just now. You said there's a track record of God leading you. Like,
Hmm.
many people have, okay, I say, looking at my life, I think I have that track record. But sometimes I still find it difficult
Hmm.
to step into, to allow control, like to allow God do his thing and not try to find control.
Yeah.
Why do I always have to like find control? I'm looking at my life. I've I've seen that okay, things always work out. I will worry. Times we have to worry a lot. Then at the end of
Yeah.
the day, there's something just have to work out. Something that I never thought about, I never imagined, just came out. I have like this new something in my life and just make things to work out. Then
Yeah.
the period of worry becomes over. But yet again, I still have to want to take control, looking for ways to take control. Why am I not just why can't I just yield to the fact that, oh, relax, everything's going to work out?
Well, so yeah, I think you're describing what we all go through, and I'm giving you like the short version of of everything. And it's not to say that there aren't moments where I like, so my last Sunday with the church was January 18th of 2026 of this year. And so, since then, it's been over half a year now, and most of the time I've just been like, yep, that was the right decision, that's the right thing. and and there hasn't been a lot of times that I've questioned that part of it, but there have been moments where I've wondered, like, okay, well, I thought maybe this was going to happen this way, or maybe I should be doing something different, or maybe I should be, maybe I'm being too closed minded. Maybe I'm not being open enough to other things. So those kinds of questions certainly entered in, and they can absolutely have to do with control or the desire to control the narrative. But at the end of the day, there's a recognition uh, that the Lord is good, and the Lord knows me better than I know myself. And so that's the message I speak to myself in those moments, is like, yeah, I could force something. Like, I could try and push that rock, metaphorically. Like, I could try and push that in, out of the way or whatever, to find what's on the other side. But if I instead just lean on the Lord and let him lead me, then even though it doesn't happen necessarily in the timing that I want, I can still trust him. I think a lot about Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, which I can't quote for you, but I'll paraphrase. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And that's an invitation for all
But
of us.
I think you just quoted the exact thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's so that's a real thing, like, that's, if we believe it's true, then we let the Lord lead us in that moment. But it doesn't, like, you're right, it's not necessarily easy. It's just how that process works. So, the, I'll let you know when everything lands, and then it'll be for sure, but at this point it's still just trusting and not freaking out about it. So that's been helpful.
Okay, is that what you describe as a peace-filled and like a peace-filled and uncertain season?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the peace comes from the connection with the Lord, and the uncertainty is just what life is right now. And that's okay.
All right, so after spending so much of your life helping other people navigate difficult seasons, what did you learn when you suddenly had to navigate a major transition of your own?
hmm uh to be patient with myself, that was probably the biggest thing. I have a my mentor friend that I've already mentioned. He challenged me, and he said, "I want you to learn who you are without being a pastor." And so that's a question that I still carry with me, like, who am I before the Lord? And because being a pastor, there are challenges in that work, but there's also a certain, like, respect or honor that people give you as a result of it. So there's that, but just learning, yeah, again, just trusting the Lord in that, and um, being patient with myself, and then it changed my prayer life, I would say, in a certain way. Like, I don't know that it necessarily made it more focused, but it did give me this sense of, like, kind of wonderment a little bit with the Lord again, where every day there's that ongoing question, like, Lord, what's my next assignment? What's the next thing you have for me? And, like, help me to listen, help me to hear you, you know let me pay attention to you, help me to not be distracted in any way. So those were probably the biggest things. And then just real quick, having good people around you, I mean, that's so important. People who love the Lord, people who love you, Um, I'm married to a wonderful woman who, like, we talk about it frequently, um, and she makes a point of saying, like, it's okay, it's okay if you don't know right this moment, but like, let's keep doing this together. So she's a big encouragement as well. Yeah, so all of those things help a ton. Are you there? Hello?
Hi, Timothy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So, you have witnessed people at their best and at their worst through ministry. What have those experiences taught you about human nature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The each person is unique. Each person is a treasure, and the reality is we go through things, and we sometimes think that we're the only ones that experience them. Whether those are good things or hard things, things that happen to us, or things that we've done. And after, 2 decades of sitting in rooms with people as they shared whatever was going on, I've kind of I don't get surprised anymore. Sometimes I'm saddened. Sometimes it's heartbreaking to hear what's being expressed. But yeah, I would say I've not had that experience where I went like, oh, that was completely different or completely unique, or what a horrible thing that this person said or did or whatever. And sometimes they are really awful things, but not uniquely awful. And all I mean by that is we're all doing life. We all have challenges. We all face temptations. Sometimes we give in to those temptations. Sometimes we do the thing that we shouldn't. But there's healing. There's healing that's there. And so, whenever we get to that point where we're ready to seek help, specifically the help of the Lord, then I think He's there for us. He's wanting to see us become healthy and whole again. But we just have to get over ourselves.
Okay. So church hurt is something many people experience, but we often we are afraid to talk about it.
Hmm.
So, what do you wish people understood about spiritual pain?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll repeat kind of some of the same answer here. You're not alone. You're not the only one who's experienced it. Pastors experience it sometimes, and it can be hard to talk about. And it can be especially hard to talk about if the person or the people that cause that pain are in leadership, because we want to honor them or respect them, or we maybe feel like they may not listen to us. So that's another added dynamic. But I really would encourage you, listener, if you're somebody who's experienced that, to talk to somebody that you really do trust about it, and that person might be, just like a good friend that that isn't involved in the situation, but they're a confidant, right? Like they're somebody who will hold whatever it is that you share with them as a sacred trust, and that's really important. But if we never talk about it, then we'll never really process it and go through the healing that we need. And then the other part would be, uh, I would say that most good-hearted leaders, good-hearted pastors, actually do want to know when they've caused somebody pain that they may not even know about. And that's not true for everybody. And so you have to use your own discernment. But like I know for myself, I know that there were times when I may have said something that I shouldn't have said, or maybe wasn't fully aware of a situation and made a comment that was hurtful to that person in that environment, and didn't know until they came and talked to me later. And I was always glad that they did, even though I knew it was hard, and sometimes it's hard for you to hear, right? That you've caused somebody some pain, but that's the only way that we can live out that whole idea of forgiveness, that whole idea of extending like mercy and grace to each other, is by actually getting into the things that are difficult and working them through. So those are important. And I'm going to differentiate here. Like I know that there are some cases where leaders are just flat out abusive, or people, it doesn't have to be leaders, but people are just abusive and they have no interest in caring for the people. And that's kind of a different category of things. But most of the time, people uh, want that opportunity to make things right and to mend whatever's been broken to the best of their ability. And then lastly, and I just feel like this part's super important. I should have led off with this, but Jesus is grieved, when we experience pain, particularly by people who bear his name. Like when Christians hurt Christians, I think, Jesus, that makes him sad. And he wants us to experience the good life, a life that's filled with wholesomeness. So yeah, you're not alone. Jesus sees you. He knows you. He wants you to be well and to experience the goodness that he has for us. I know that's kind of a long answer. Sorry about that.
That's okay, as long as they're able to understand what you're saying. So, okay, so you have worked hard to become a better listener.
Hmm.
What have you learned about people? What have you learned about people simply by slowing down and really listening?
Hmm. Yeah, there's always another story behind the story. Yeah, there are always layers that are there. I always know that there is more, like we're talking about one subject, but there's something else that's there. And so it's helped me to be patient with them, especially if they're a little bit irritable or or something like that. But just to not let myself get worked up over things that I might otherwise be defensive about. But yeah, each person has a lot going on, and they're wonderful, right? People are made in the image of God, and they're worthy of a good, compassionate listening ear.
All right, Timothy. So, what does it mean to experience the peace of God in the middle of pain, other than waiting for the pain to disappear? This is a very good question, honestly, because me trying to experience peace in the midst of pain is almost as if I'm looking for something to numb the pain.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, most of us want to escape the pain, don't we? we want relief, but relief doesn't always come. Paul talked to the Lord, and he talks about it like, "Hey, I had this." He calls it a thorn in his side. He asked for the Lord to take it away, and the Lord said, "My grace is sufficient for you." And that idea can be difficult for us to take because we do want to have the pain go away, and that can be physical pain, by the way, an ongoing health issue, or it can just be like emotional pain or whatever else it might, whatever form it might take. So in that, I would just say that Jesus will walk with us through the dark times and hang on to us. Psalm 23, there's that line in there. It says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not be afraid because you're with me." And when yeah, life doesn't necessarily get easy, but it can be good, and our peace, right, comes from the Lord, and so we can rest in Him. And that's, you know, I don't know, coming back to the scriptures always helps for me, and certainly just sharing it with others helps a lot as well. But the Lord desires that for us, and so we lean into that, and it's not easy. Sometimes the pain is too much, and we kind of can get anxious about it. But I believe that the Lord truly does want that for us, that we can trust Him, even though it's not necessarily tranquil or peaceful in the circumstances.
But Timothy, it's very, very difficult doing that. And most of the times, in the midst of pain, there's almost as if there's a void that is there to be filled. And we look at external, we look at human beings. And most times, for myself, I feel so lonely in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should be getting help from people or
Mm-hmm.
sympathy from people, but there's nothing. And something I noticed about my life is when I started getting close to God, almost as if my life became lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one I had was Jesus. And so when I have difficulties, when I'm in pain, there's no one around I can cling to. And most
Hmm.
times that pains me.
Yeah, that pains me too. I am sorry to hear that that's kind of what's happened. I don't know that that's um, like we're all in different circumstances, different experiences. I have the blessing of having people around me who are also Christians and Jesus followers, and so there is that support there, and I think that's what we're supposed to be with each other as the church, as the collective. But when that's not there, when we do feel alone, Jesus called his disciples friends. I think in John's gospel, he says, I've revealed these secrets to you, and this isn't just like a master servant situation. This is like, I consider you friends. And so coming to him, like, I think that really can be real. And sometimes I've found it to be helpful to journal, to write down the things that I'm thinking about, and to express them, you know, I guess in some ways as a prayer to the Lord, but just to make it as conversational and as personal as I possibly can, and that's been an aid to me. And then, yeah, just finding connection with other people who also love Jesus has been very important in the course of my life. I hope that can be true for you as well.
Honestly, I hope that it can be true to me, honestly. Timothy, I would like you to say that again.
Yeah, just the was I breaking up?
Yeah, just I just like wanted to say it again.
Yeah, yeah, just like the yeah, finding good connections is really important. But when we don't have them, like when where they're not are near us, then coming to Jesus is good, and he will be everything that we need him to be. In John's gospel, he talks about he calls his disciples his friends, and I think he extends that to us as well. He's not just the one that we worship, although he is that, but he's revealed himself to us and he's made himself known, and so we can come to him. And then I'll add this: in Hebrews, it talks about him as our high priest, but it says we have somebody who is able to sympathize with us because he was tempted in every way, but didn't succumb to it. So we have somebody that we can go to who knows what our lives are all about. He walked the earth. He went through the things that we went through, or that we go through, so we can come to him legitimately as a friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Timothy. I really hope I can take some encouragement for that and run with that. So what would you say to someone who has spent decades building a particular identity and suddenly realizes they are being called towards something completely different?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Be courageous in that move. Um, I would say that it's okay if you don't know. Excuse me. It's okay if you don't know exactly what your next career will be, or your next, season of life, whatever the change might be. It's don't pressure yourself into having to have all of the answers right away. It's normal to not know, and that's okay. So that yeah, be kind to yourself. Keep talking to the Lord about it. Keep talking to people that you love and trust, and that's very very important. Um, just to have those opportunities to do that. And then I would say, just take a look at what God's been preparing you for. Um, Usually, even when we're in the middle of something that feels very different and it feels unknown, there are probably things in our lives that the Lord has already been doing. So I'm 51 years old, and so there's some time there. Yeah, and I can look back and I can see, well, I've been doing this one thing for a long time, but in the midst of that, I've been learning different things, different skills, and the Lord's been doing different, work in my own life. So I can serve people maybe now in a different way than I could when I was 25 or 30. Now I have a different perspective, and so I can appreciate that. And I think all of us can say that, whether you're a young person going through, some kind of a life change, or somebody closer to my age. Yeah, we all have opportunity to learn, and my belief is that the Lord uses all of our lives for His glory.
Okay, so after everything you have experienced in ministry and life, what does the abundant life mean to you today?
Hmm. Yeah, the abundant life means, I'm walking. I'm walking step by step with Jesus, and that's a spiritual answer. But in the nuts and bolts of it, like in the everyday living, yeah, it means that I have a home where um, we pray for each other. We talk openly wherever we can, and we cheer each other on. I think that's all part of it. And as we're figuring things out, like we're new grandparents, which is super fun. So learning how to do that, like that's we bring all of that to the Lord, and desire Him to lead us in all of those things. So yeah, just every aspect of life is part of the abundant life. So the things that we do to earn money, the things that we do to invest into each other as family members, all of those things are expressions of that, and we're excited about that. So it's a life that's different, distinctly different than how the rest of the society around us operates. We want to operate from a place of faith, and just joy. Like there's lots of opportunity for joy along the way, and so we embrace that.
All right, thank you so much, Timothy. Thank you for such an honest and thoughtful conversation. It sort of reminds us that sometimes the end of one chapter is in the end of the calling. It may simply be an invitation to see life through a different lens. From ministry and church hurt to poetry, creativity, faith, and unexpected transitions. You've reminded us that we don't have to have everything figured out to move forward with peace. So, Timothy, I know I have talked about most of my experience on this show, and it's time for you to share your poetry with us. How did writing poetry become part of your spiritual life?
Yeah, I started writing poetry quite a bit about 3 or 4 years ago, and I've been creative all my life, but it was only like maybe sporadic. Like I would write here and there, like a few times a year or whatever. But then it became something that was steady, and so for me, poetry is a way to give each word and each phrase a lot of meaning and weight. It's a way to express some of the things that I found myself feeling that I couldn't adequately express by writing in a different way or communicating in a different way. And I know that sounds a little bit, I don't know if it sounds weird or whatever, but it just there's a thing there that needs to come out. And so then as I was writing more and more, I just noticed that I was just writing about things that were happening in my life, but they started to turn into just offerings to the Lord, even if they, like some of the writing isn't, I don't always say the word, like I don't always say Jesus in my poetry, like it's just kind of coming from me, but it's an offering back to the Lord and a recognition that He walks with me through good times and through tough times. Yeah, so it's been a way uh, to give voice to the things that I couldn't voice otherwise.
Your poetry is changing lessons.
Hmm.
Okay, so what does that title mean to you?
Yeah, it's different perspective. It means that we tend to find what we're looking for. If we expect to find despair and just kind of the uh, the mundane things of life, then that's probably what we'll see. But if we're willing to shift our perspective, we can see things through a different lens, through a different perspective. Yeah, a different way of looking at life. And so that's what it's all about: is noticing the things that we would oftentimes miss, noticing the beauty that God puts around us, and yeah, making that shift.
Okay, thank you so much. Here is my final question for you. If you could give your 16-year-old self one piece of advice about faith, ministry, creativity, and life, what would it be?
Mm, yeah, be courageous and be who you are. Absolutely. I've found that trying to lead or to do anything like other people do it hasn't been helpful for me. But when I remember who I am and the way that I'm created and wired, then that's worked a lot better. A lot of great leaders are, like, we would call them like alpha leaders. They're bold, they're decisive, those kinds of things, and that's never been me necessarily. I'm much better at coming alongside and leading in a different kind of a way, and so that's been important, and that I think gets reflected in everything that I do, whether it's writing, uh, preaching, teaching, whatever I put my hand to. I just try to remember and be faithful to the person God made me to be.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Timothy. For those who want to connect with you and learn more about your work and your poetry, how can they do that?
Hmm. You can find the book Changing Lenses on Amazon. You can get an ebook version that's probably cheaper, or that's the place where you can find that. And then I have a podcast that is available on any platform, probably the one that you're listening to right now, called "Meet Me in the Word" with Pastor Tim. That's me. So I'm the guy with the kind of a goofy smile and a kind of a fun hat. I think it's cool. But yeah, so I do Monday through Friday. I do like a 12 to 15-minute devotion. People can tune into that, and I think they'll enjoy it. It's not really a place where I share poetry necessarily, but they're just insights, hopefully helpful insights with our quiet time with Jesus. Yeah, so there's that. And then if you do Facebook, just look for Timothy Stobbe, and yeah, reach out. I would love to connect with you more.
Okay. Thank you all so much, and thank you all for listening to this episode of Hidden Secrets in Books. And if this episode is speaking to you, make sure to share it with someone out there who might need to hear this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Timothy.
Yeah, thank you.